Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really powerful lecture from Srila Prabhupada, given way back in 1976. He takes just one single verse from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and, unpacks this huge, profound fear that's at the heart of Vedic philosophy. This fear of being stuck in an endless cycle.
Okay, so to get this, you gotta picture the scene. There's this young devotee, his name's Prahlāda, and he is standing in front of Lord Nṛsiṁha-deva. Now, this is a divine being in this just terrifying half-lion, half-man form. I mean, the lecture explains that this form was so intense that even the greatest demigods were totally freaked out. But Prahlāda, his reaction is, well, it's not what you'd expect at all. And this is where we get to the real heart of it, this central paradox. Prahlāda looks at this incredibly fearsome being and basically says, you know what? I'm not afraid of you. So what is he afraid of? It's something way more subtle, something bigger. He's afraid of the endless, grinding, miserable cycle of just existing in the material world.
And Srila Prabhupada really drives this home in his explanation of Prahlāda's words. The point is, the real fear isn't some outside threat, no matter how scary it looks. The real terror is the condition itself, just being trapped here. And honestly, that one idea, it sets the stage for everything else we're about to cover.
So, what is this material existence that has Prahlāda so shaken up? Well, the lecture gives it a very specific name, saṁsāra-cakra. Let's dig into what that actually means.
Okay, so saṁsāra-cakra. It literally translates to the wheel of worldly existence. And it's exactly what it sounds like, this never-ending cycle of being born, living a little while, dying, and then boom, you're born again in a new body. It's a process that from this perspective just goes on and on forever and is at its core filled with misery.
But why is that so terrifying, right? Srila Prabhupada calls it a constant botheration. See, based on our actions, our karma, we get a different body in the next life. You could come back as a human, an animal, maybe even a demigod on some higher planet. But here's the catch. It doesn't matter what body you get. The result is always the same. It's temporary, and it ends in death. You're just stuck on this cosmic merry-go-round, repeating the same basic struggles again and again and again.
All right, so the big question is, how did we get stuck on this thing in the first place? Is it just random, bad luck? Well, the lecture makes it super clear. Nope, it's not fate, it's us.
There's this really powerful phrase used in the lecture, baddha sva karmabhi. It means we are bound by our own work, by our own actions. See, we're not just victims of some grand cosmic plan. Our own choices, our own actions, they're the very things that are tying us to this wheel.
And to make this crystal clear, Srila Prabhupada explains, there are basically two kinds of people. You've got the dushkriti. This is someone who's smart, talented, got skills, but uses them for the wrong things. The example given is a brilliant thief, right? Then you have the sukriti. This person also has merit, but they use it for good, to get closer to the divine. So it all comes down to how we use what we've been given.
Now, this next part is really fascinating. To break down the whole experience of suffering and its solution, the lecturer actually uses a clever little device from Sanskrit grammar. It's a really neat way to understand it. The term is pavarga. Now, in grammar, this is just a group of 5 consonants, but in this lecture, it's used as a kind of acronym for the 5 stages of struggle that everyone goes through in this material world.
Okay, let's break this down. First, you've got pa, which stands for parishrama. That's just hard, grinding labor. You work so hard just to get by. Next is pa for phenom, which literally means foam at the mouth. It's that feeling of being completely and utterly exhausted from all that work. Then comes ba for vyarthata. This is disappointment, bafflement, the feeling of, I work so hard, for what? After that, you get pa for paya, which is fear, constant anxiety. And what's it all lead to? Ma for mrityu, death. That's the 5-step cycle of suffering right there. But here's the good news. If there's a pavarga, there's also an apavarga. That little a at the beginning in Sanskrit, it negates the word. So apavarga literally means no suffering. It's the way out, it's liberation, and it's all about taking shelter of the divine. Okay, so if apavarga, liberation, is the goal, how do you actually do it? How do you get off this miserable merry-go-round? Well, the lecture lays out a really practical path.
For this, Srila Prabhupada brings in a really famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It's basically a 4-part instruction from Krishna. And it's not a suggestion, it's presented as a solid promise. You do this, and you will come back to me. No doubt about it.
And what's so great about this is how simple it is. The lecture really emphasizes that we're not talking about some impossible, mystical practice here. It's about simple devotional acts. Things like spending time with other devotees, visiting a temple, or even just offering a simple bow with respect. And a really big one is controlling the tongue. Not just what you say, but what you eat. Using it to chant and to only eat sanctified food, or prasadam. These are the tools that actually start to break those chains of karma. All right, and all of this builds to one final, really powerful idea. The lecture ends by completely reframing how we should think about our relationship with the divine, and it's probably not what you're expecting. So the lecture explains that the point of all this, the goal, it isn't to see God.
Is to live your life in such a way that God wants to see you.
That just gets right to the core of it, doesn't it? Think about Prahlāda. He's not demanding anything. He's waiting. He asks, "When will you call me?" See, real liberation isn't something you take. It's a mercy that's given when you've qualified yourself. It's a call you have to wait for, the call to finally come home.
So that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about, right? After all this, after understanding the real fear and the simple path to freedom, what does a life that's actually worthy of the call really look like for you, for me, in our day-to-day lives?